Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Tea and Sympathy with Gillian-Baker. I'm Gillian-Baker, and today we are going to be talking about um, killing my darlings. It sounds really bad, doesn't it? It feels really bad a lot of times. But before we get started, I have to tell you what tea I'm drinking. You see my mug? Love this mug. Um, I am drinking Egyptian licorice mint by Yogi. Love this tea. I needed a little pick me up, so I decided that this was a good one for me today. Very refreshing. So today, I can't even find my notes. If you could see the shape my office is in, you just wouldn't believe your eyes. It's papers everywhere. Um, I'm deep into the revisions for this fourth book, and things are starting to get real. As you can tell back here, you see all those sticky notes and everything on my board. That's when you know shit's getting real here in my office. Um, I'm getting down to the wire and need to get this book finished and off to my editor next week. So, anyway, Um, when you hop on, make sure that you say hi in the comments and tell us what you're drinking, okay? So I mentioned that I told you guys before that this book has been the hardest that I've written so far. Um, my last book, Murder Over Medium, almost wrote itself. It was so easy to write and so much fun. And for some reason, excuse me, for some reason, this book has just been like pulling teeth. And I'm not really sure why, other than I really started questioning my writing process when I started this book. I was reading a lot of inspiration from writing gurus, self-publishing gurus telling you um, how you need to outline your books so that you can write faster, so that you can get 4 to 6 books out a year, and yada yada yada. And I just think it kind of freaked me out. And so I started trying to really outline my books very in depth, and it just killed my creativity. I just couldn't come up with what I wanted to do next. It just felt so stilted. And so I ended up having to go kind of back to the drawing board and start again. So that's why it's taken me so long to get out this next book, because I want it to be really great. I want it to be better than any of the other books I've written. And I'm also really excited to get it out, because that means that I can start going back and working on revising the first book in my new series, The Reluctant Psychic. And I've been giving you guys little tidbits along the way of what's coming. And I'm just so excited to start that series too. So I really wanted to get going on it. And so today I've been really working hard trying to get everything that's in my head down on paper. And one of the things that I always have to do, and you'll hear all writers talk about this, they have to kill their darlings. And what that means is our darlings are the sections of the plot or the manuscript that we love the best, that we think, oh, this was an inspired idea. This is perfect for my plot. Or, oh, I love the way I said this. I was just really on fire when I wrote that day. And then in the revision process, when you go back, you start to realize that some of those brilliant ideas, or the way you phrase, maybe you phrase something really great, but that whole section isn't working with where you've taken the plot now. And so you have to decide, am I going to keep this? I love it. I don't want to give it up. It's brilliant. And yet it's not working for the book the way it's gone. So, I mentioned in the beginning that I can't outline like some writers do. Most of my writing is done by the seat of my pants. I will have a signpost outline that I use to make sure that I'm hitting all of the really important, as writers, we call them beats, but all the things that a reader expects to find in a cozy mystery. So I need to make sure that, I have everything lined up so that it's going to work well for the reader. So I can start out with that really basic idea and fill in, but I can't just go from a really structured outline. Maybe someday I will, I hope, because it would be easier in a lot of ways. So I have to take out a lot of darlings. I mentioned a few months ago when I did a video that in my first book, Blogging is Murder, I removed 40,000 words from my first draft. That's almost a book right there. So you can see that a lot of darlings got cut. But I found that a lot of times it's just so much easier to cut those darlings, cut the sections that you really don't want to cut, because trying to make it work is harder, takes longer, and it usually doesn't come out quite as good than if you just scrapped that and went with your new idea and started over. At least in that section, not start the whole book over so much as just, taking out that section and trading for a new idea that's even better. So one example in the new book that I'm writing, Liable to Kill, in one section I had, you all know Cheryl. Hey, Jean, how you doing? What are you drinking? I might be a margarita. I know Jean's relaxing out in Florida. So one of you guys all know Cheryl, who is the gossip monger of the town, Aspen Falls, and she works for the police or the sheriff's department. And Jade, the way I had it set up first was that Jade went in to talk to Ross and tell him, I think this person was murdered. I don't think it was natural causes. And of course, Ross doesn't believe her. He thinks you're seeing murder where there is none. And she comes back out of Ross's office, and Cheryl tries to engage her in conversation. And Jade, because she's so frustrated that nobody else believes her, ends up talking with Cheryl and telling her, yes, I think it was murder. And I'm worried that it had something to do with the book, the writer's circle that I started, because I'm not going to tell you all of this. I'm not going to give too much away here, because of something that the victim had been doing that wasn't okay. And Cheryl's like, yeah, I see your point, and gets her to talk more and more, even though Jade knows better. So that's how I had it in the beginning. And then a couple scenes later, there's a rumor going around that Jade thinks that one of the people in her writing circle killed this person. That's not what she said to Cheryl, but that's what Cheryl's telling everyone. Okay, so everybody is miffed at her. The whole town is like, how dare you, say that somebody, in her writer's circle, nobody shows up anymore, and all this kind of stuff. So she's fighting all of that. And when I started the revision process, I decided that I didn't really love that like I thought I did in the beginning when the idea first came to me. And I felt like it would be stronger, the story would be stronger if I brought in the newspaper. In this, excuse me, in this fourth book, Ellie, Jade's daughter, is home from college for the summer, and she's back working at the little newspaper, the Gazette, in Aspen Falls, like she did the summer before. And so I was trying to come up with ways that I could bring the newspaper in more to the story, and also bring in Ellie, because Ellie and Jade are not getting along this summer. there's something going on, and there's a lot of friction in the household, which is very unusual. And so I came up with the idea that uh, instead of Cheryl spreading this rumor and everybody being upset with Jade, somebody from the Gazette has started a new like gossip column called All About Town. And actually what I changed it to is that in this column after the murder, the columnist writes a story making fun of Jade, teasing about, oh, she's on the trail again. She thinks that it's murder. It's just very tongue-in-cheek teasing her, and that she thinks that she's this hotshot detective when she's really just, an entrepreneur. So that's what I ended up changing it to. And so I had to take great big sections out and replace them with a whole new set of dialogue and, leading up to, well, why doesn't Jade see that in the newspaper before she finds out, because everybody's acting so weird to her? Why doesn't she read that? So all of these other things that I already had in place had to be dismantled and rewritten. So that just shows how one little change in your manuscript can end up impacting a lot of stuff that you had in the beginning of the book, and sometimes even later, sometimes even after. So I'll have to go back and find all the little places where I mentioned that that people are upset with Jade, and instead change it to they're snickering behind her back. So all those little changes, kind of like a domino effect. And the reader, the fan of mine who asked me to talk about this, thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thanks for the topic. Wants to know exactly what I do with my darlings after I cut them out. And that's a great question. It is not something that I just delete. I would guess that most authors do this. I'm not sure. I guess it's just a personal preference, but I always keep those. I copy and, I cut them out and paste them into a different document so that I don't lose those. My fear is, and I've done this in other types of writing, is if you just delete it and then later you decide, no, wait, that original idea was better, because that happens too. You don't realize what an impact it's going to have when you make a change like that sometimes. And so further down, 50 pages, 100 pages later, you might realize, oh man, no, that's not going to work. I need that original idea. And so I never want to lose those original ideas, just in case I need to bring them back in. So I always save them. And it's also really good because I might want to use that idea again in a different book. You never want to throw out those ideas because you just never know when you might need them. I've also used them as inspiration. So if I get stuck in that book, I can always go back and read through what I cut out, and sometimes that will jog an idea in my brain, and I'll be able to move ahead then. So they're really good and really important. I never throw any of that kind of stuff away. And I think it probably comes back to, like I said, learning the hard way when I was in grad school, or when I had written other content, and if I just got rid of it, if I deleted the file or whatever, it almost always turned out that I needed that stuff back. And I couldn't remember exactly what I had said or the lovely way I had phrased something. And so it's really frustrating to do that. So I just keep them. So one of the things that I've been playing around with was letting you guys in on some of the darlings that I've cut from the past. And so let me know in the comments if you would be interested in reading some of those, if that would be fun for you. And of course I would. Hey, Dan. My brother's here for the very first time. I'm so excited. So my family's here today. Yay. Hi, guys. Um, so leave a comment down below if you are interested in reading any of my darlings that I've had to cut from the different books. I'd be interested to know. Sometimes, sometimes you think of ideas and you think, oh, it's so cool. And then you put it out there and everybody's like, oh, I don't know why she gave me this. It's not interesting at all. But, I tease my daughter that when I die, she'll be able to sell all of my notes. And I have notes on several notebooks. I've shown you guys some of this before. And the sticky notes, back here. And I told her, you'll be able to put all that together into a book and sell it like Agatha Christie's grandchildren did, and be able to make profits from it forever, because everybody will want to see all the detailed character notes and all that stuff. Hey, I'm so glad you did. You'll have to catch up and watch the beginning of it when I post it up online. So anyway, let me know if you want to see really deep behind the curtain and find out exactly what I've cut from my different books. Make sure you leave a message down below when you hop on, if you're not live here, and tell me what you're drinking while you watch. Okay, pina coladas are okay. If that's what you're drinking, that's fine. It's supposed to be tea, but I'll let you get by with it. Or maybe you put a little something extra in your tea. We won't tell anybody. We'll keep it our secret. So, okay, thank you so much for joining, Jane and Dan. I so appreciate it. And I can't wait to see all of your comments later. See you next week. Bye.